This is a really cool, I think, original new floor plan that smashes like 35 foot of camper into under 30 foot of space with some half-ton towing potential. Hey everybody, Josh RV Nerd of Bish's RV down here at Forest River Super Secret Prototype Bunker, taking a look at these new Unmapped by RPod models. This is like, there's this interesting little period where RPod stops at like 25 feet, but there's a lot of people who are like, yeah, but I want a little more space, but I don't want to go more than 30 feet. That's exactly where these come in right here. Generally speaking, still going to have some half-ton towing potential depending on the vehicle. But this floor plan, it's so simple that I'm shocked no one has really done it before. I've seen a couple of fifth wheels flirt with this, but what the first thing I thought of is I looked at like the big what is it, like 311 or something, 3100 Grand Design Imagine. But that's a very long travel trailer that a lot of half tons shouldn't be handling, opposing living room slides and whatnot, but a lot of cool qualities. And they kind of looked at this and said, what if we boil down the most critical features? And they gave us a one slide RV with awesome campside window coverage, a big old TV Jumbotron that you can pivot to face directly at this very home style kind of sectional style sofa that also folds into a pretty large sleeper lounge. So on a rainy day, if you just want to like lay down and cuddle, you can do that. If you need space for the dogs to get up there and hang out, you have room to do that. Or if you have a guest and they come over and they tie one on and you don't want them driving home, you got a perfect little spot for them to crash until morning time. But it also has a cool little dining bar that overlooks the whole seating arrangement so that everyone's getting a nice shot at the entertainment. Now, beyond that, we have a walk-through middle bathroom. Some people like, some people hate, but it does have a central vac system in there. Very private Olympic Queen front bedroom, holding tank heat pads, 400 watts of solar, as down below the fiberglass Norco chassis, hitch on the back, plus a bumper, and a partridge and a pear tree. It's got things I like, it's got things I don't. I'm gonna try to hit the highs and the lows, and if you appreciate the candid look at this new series right here, hit that subscribe button, and let's get in there. Let's get into this. I'm excited about this floor plan. I personally feel, I don't know that it'll be their number one, but I think that this will be one of those real steady eddies where once you see this model, you're going to be like, I don't know that I love some of those other things. Now, if you prefer more traditional seating and dining, you will not like this camper. That's okay. What's interesting about this one to me is that most of these unmapped models have that tailgater, that outside bar with the pass-through taco truck window, and they have what they call their bar to dinette, where it's a bar top that also has a full 4-person extension table that completely hides away built into it. I think very crafty. It really doesn't eat up a lot of storage. But you'll notice this floor plan doesn't do either of those things, but it still does things in an extremely unconventional way, which is kind of what the spirit of the whole Unmapped series is here. Now, I kind of like this. It's a slightly elevated bar top. I like that it's not super tall because, like when I go to a restaurant, I don't know about you, I like the idea of sitting at a bar top table, but I don't actually like the experience of a bar top table because I have to slide the chair pretty far back because of my chubby belly to sit down. And then I can't exactly scoot the chair forward. These seats are still low enough that I'm going to be able to fit. Now, I'm going to give them some credit. They put a nice sized screen in there, but one of the things that I think is also very cool about it, it pivots perfectly to service all of the seating. Whether you're in that kind of wraparound lounge, whether you're here at the bar over the lounge, you're good. Now you might notice this is not a floor plan that has a lot of space to entertain a lot of guests. That's not what this camper is. This is mostly for 1 or 2 people who are looking for a fun, slightly unconventional experience without getting extremely crazy and weird about it. But look what it also brings us. How many times have you ever looked at an RV and said, why don't they give us windows on the camp side of the RV? Well, that's one of the cool things about this floor plan. It does. Now, it means that this thing has a rather unconventional furniture arrangement. So every RV's greatest asset could be its greatest liability, depending on how you feel about it right here. So what's nice is this gives us some space to kind of sit down, sort of stretch out, you know, depending on what you want to do. But whether you have a guest or if you just want to like do a double snuggle, snoozy rainy day, this whole thing can convert into a little bit of a napping lounge. Now, I don't know the exact measurements of it here, but I do my own stunts. Cause Jackie Chan ain't got nothing on me. Okay, so these pop off. I'm doing this on the fly, obviously. I don't have a camera person, so I just threw it up on the counter. Hopefully that works. Sounds very nice when you say you throw something up, doesn't it? Lovely. Anyway, how much space do we got here? So I'm a little over, ooh, okay. So from here to there is about 6'1". You're gonna lose a little bit of space with the armrest over here. You can gain a little bit of extra seat space over here if we take these extra cushions out. So for an adult like me, you know, like my kid would sleep fine. For an adult like me, if I was side sleeping, or if we're watching TV and I'm just doing a daytime loungy thing, you could do a double lounger followed by, oh yeah. And thankfully with the armrest, I'm not gonna fall out of bed. So there you go. If the extra Burt Reynolds body demos are useful for you, drop maybe a little like on our video or something like that. Just hey, say, you know, or type in like, hey, thanks nerd. Before I forget, you might have noticed how both sides of this countertop, they do have some pop-up power towers. But what's also kind of cool is this little, like they didn't have the opportunity to put cabinet doors over here because of the sofa and the armrest. So they put some household and some USB plugs up in there, which I think was actually really smart. Oh, wow. They actually put dedicated countertop space down in there, so it's not just like an open cabinet cubby. All right. A little stronger, a little more reinforced is kind of why I like that. Anyway, moving our way around right here, all the windows that you're seeing will have the blackout roller shades. The entry doors are full viewing window, but they're only shade prepped. So kind of keep that in mind. We're kind of peeking into the walk-through bathroom here a little bit. So I do want to mention the central vacuum system with the electric dustpan. And if you don't know what that is, basically instead of having to get out the entire pool cleaner kit every single time you want to use the central vac, if you just have a quick broom, you can just, because it's all, the whole camper's carpetless and ventless, you can just kind of sweep everything into the little collector point, flick it up with your toe, it turns on, sucks up all the dirt and the grit, and you're done, you know. This is a thing that they're doing on a couple models. Cosmetically, I think it looks pretty. Functionally, I don't love it. On an RV, if this was a house and I just had an open shelf in my kitchen and little hooks where I could hang things, that would be very, very cool. It's very quaint looking, but this is something that is potentially rolling down the road, so stuff can't sit there while you are in transit. Now, as we're working our way around, it's easy. Like sometimes you look at this kind of floor plan, you're like, the kitchen kind of sucks. No, the kitchen is just broken up into, part of it's in the slide, part of it is not. I'm actually going to sit back here on the sofa to give you a little bit more of a view. You might notice that you don't have a propane oven. What you do have above that, though, you have a 3-in-1 electric oven where it's air fryer, convection, and microwave. I tried to have the refrigerator and the freezer open, but Casper the Ghost decided he didn't like that. Sometimes it can be really hard to see how much space is in an RV unless something is loaded into it. So I always try to, when I think about it anyway, grab an object to give you a size reference. These are little swivel stands for the sofa. You see that they completely sit inside there, and they're actually using soft close cabinet doors on this. So you just have a little more of an enjoyable, comfortable experience all the way around. Decent drawer space in this one. I'm not unhappy about that. My 2 cents here, I would have liked it if the stove and the microwave electric oven combo were on the left side of this space to leave an open countertop pocket on the right side of the space. Basically, I wish this space was flip-flopped just because most people tend to be right-handed, and that would just be the most convenient thing. But every now and then, I think the lefties deserve a W as well. That is a stainless sink. It is a circular sink. It is a large circular sink. Not all circular sinks are quite created equally, I guess, is just the best way that I can say it. This is a couple neat things they do, actually. So this is either a waterfall sprayer head, I call this the hammerhead, or you can rotate it and get the jet, as it were. And whether it's a cutting board, whether it's let me get that towel out there, sink cover, whether it's a painter's palette, whether it's a shield to defend yourself at the next LARPing event, lightning bolt. You either understand the lightning bolt reference or you don't. But yeah, that whole RV nerd thing, I was a nerd before I was an RV nerd. And if it wasn't obvious, the laugh that I just hooked out there should pretty much give it away. Walk through middle bath. Let's talk about it. First of all, XL vent fan up here in the ceiling that a lot of people certainly prefer. We have a 6.5 foot ceiling height. Pardon me. I yucked too hard and it's like choking me up. Now, the 6.5 foot ceiling height means that my head's going to be up in the bubble pretty significantly. I do appreciate the fact that they do actually give us little towel hooks. By the way, if the little decorations are kind of helpful, again, for size references, leave a little note that says, hey, thanks, RPod, because they spent some time helping us, display this camper that a lot of brands just don't. I like that how RPod cares. I see that reflected in their product. Now, this toilet is extremely fluffy friendly, but I also like how it's tucked around the corner. So yeah, you might see it when you walk in the door, but you don't see it like when you are in your general living space. Something else they're doing that I'm kind of on board with over here, because they do have kind of limited countertop space. They're giving us these dedicated little shelf things. So I have my Lipitor space. I have my toothbrush organizer. Heck, you might be able to hang a toothbrush from that thing. It's not a gigantic sink by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen either. And I kind of didn't plan on this. I realized that there's a lot of storage here that I forgot to get footage for, so let's do it live. And overall, I like what I see here. So here's the general rule that I like in RV design. If an enclosed cabinet space like this is going to be below my waist, I like it to be a drawer that opens up and slides to me. If it's above my waist, I like cabinet pocket space like we're looking at here. I'm going to ask you about this again on the outside, but I'm apparently doubly curious. Does this camper even need a bedroom door? I don't know that it necessarily does. Now, an interesting thing I've stumbled into on these unmapped models, they don't have an enclosed overhead cabinet. They do include the little wicker baskets that we're looking at, so you don't have to go to Target or Amazon or whatever. But they built in dedicated little slot spots for them to help keep them in place. And that was just an interesting, thoughtful detail that kind of made me go, you know what? I'm going to give you a pass on that. I'm okay with that, just because you kind of thought about people when you did it. The front windshield does have a blackout privacy shade, by the way. You've also got these handy dandy headboard power pockets. Now, you've got a couple things in there. I'm going to kind of do a Luke knee walker on the bed and try to not make you motion sick. You can see you actually have an interesting little cup holder built right in, but tucked back in there is also a set of household and USB plugs. So you do have all the little charging solutions you could want. Another thing I noticed is over here, dresser space on both sides. There's also some handy power outlets on this side. So they ran a lot of copper in this bathroom. Bathroom? No, I hope you're not doing that in here. Bedroom. I'm standing in the bathroom and I'm an idiot, so that's why that happened. But then they have this whole thing going on here below the bed. But before I forget about it, this bed is going to dominate the camera frame because I'm not using a wide angle lens. This is, a flat lens here. It actually looks a little easier to digest by the human eye, but this camera zooms in slightly. Anyway, that's a 66 by 80 Olympic queen bed. One of the cool things, though, if you want just a normal 60 by 80 queen, you can make this just a true queen, because you might notice how the mattress and the decking under it, the supports, stick out further than the bed base. The box under the bed is 60 by 80 queen sized. It's only 60 inches wide. So if you're like, I don't need the weird Olympic queen bed, which is a real thing. It's not a thing I'm making up. You can Google it. That's a real thing. You can find sheets and mattresses that replace it. But if you're like, I just want a normal queen, no problem. Shave a little bit of plywood decking and you're good. I wasn't sure how the road mode interaction on this one was going to play out real quick. In case you're curious, these chairs, there's actually little straps that are included with this. They basically just strap in place right there. You don't have to try to stuff them anywhere. But you, by default, can't really get to the refrigerator here. There is a fairly easy workaround. This is a rack and pinion slide. So one of the cool benefits of that is that a rack and pinion slide doesn't care if you open it only partially. So if you need to just crack this thing a little bit to get in there, to grab some lunch meat, to make yourself a little lunch meat sandwich or something like that, a little Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper, and then close her back up. It's very simple, easy to do, and it won't screw it up. Not every slide allows you to do that, though. So, different strokes, different folks, different floor plans, different benefits. But overall, within 30 feet, heck, 29. This is 29 feet. I like this thing. Now, in terms of towing, there's some half-ton towing potential here. If you have a later model tow package half-ton, if you're going across, I would say, modest terrain, not extreme, meaning like not mountains or something like that, you're probably going to be okay here because this thing is 29 foot on the Nizzos, tip to tail. First of all, again, they chopped 6 foot off of the floor plan that inspired this, I think. Secondly, with a max GVW of about 7,200 pounds, a lot of your tow package half tons will be okay even fully loaded with cargo, meaning you will always be safe. I've got a lot to cover. Let's get started up here. We do have a little bit different chassis arrangement versus your industry standard. This is a Norco chassis. You see the blue sticker, not your traditional Lippert I-beam frame. The only thing on this that is not a welded aluminum laminated cage is going to be the roof, and it is a stick-built snow-load walk-on roof. Doesn't have a factory ladder. She's prepped for one. No, it's prepped for a telescopic ladder. Let me ask you a question, if you're willing to share. What would your preference on a factory ladder solution be? Should they leave it alone? Should they not even prep it? Should they prep it for a build-on ladder? Should they just include the build-on ladder? I have my personal opinions. I'll go ahead and withhold them from this time. If you're a regular viewer, you already know how I feel about that. The underbelly is enclosed. It is forced air heated. There's a radiant barrier layer down there. It also has 12-volt holding tank heat pads, which means this has a very respectable extended season package. I don't mind a door in the bedroom. Sorry, I had to walk around a giant support pillar here in the building, so I had to get a little close. It looks a little funny to me having the two doors right by one another. Let me ask you, does this even need the second door to the bedroom? I don't know that it does, because the slide out doesn't prevent you from getting in the bedroom. I don't think it needs to be there, personally. That's just my 2 cents. Apparently that one I will share my opinion. I'll also share the opinion they freaking nailed it on the awning on this thing. That is some serious awning space on here. We have the Goodyear Endurance radials with tire pressure monitoring straight from the factory down here. A lot of brands have very quietly moved away from Goodyear's, and they have continued to put a little bit better sneakers on here. Now, it is a conventional leaf spring suspension. So if you're going to do a lot of road towing, as opposed to yard towing, I don't even know what that means. Sorry. What I would recommend is maybe looking into something like a MoRide upfit. The people I've talked to that have done that, man, they just absolutely swear by it. And they think that's just an awesome, awesome feature. Working our way around here, I kind of like how they give you an and instead of an or. They give you a rear bumper and a receiver hitch instead of or. So you have the dedicated spot for the spare tire, which you could slide left or right a little bit, depending on what you want to insert into that receiver hitch down there. As we work our way around, this is a rack and pinion slide system. That seems to be the only thing I'm kind of finding on Unmapped here. That's one of those things that where it kind of bleeds a little bit in that space between RPod and Surveyor, which are kind of members of the same family. Surveyors generally will tend to run on a rack and pinion slide like this, which obviously this group is doing here. It is possible what I'm looking at is a prototype feature. I see Mr. RPod in the background. Hey, Ben, can I borrow your fancy brains and your cool pink shorts for a minute? I'm noticing that we have 2 sewer hookups here, but on a floor plan like this with the kitchen and the bathroom all together, is there a reason we have to do that? Or is this just because it's a prototype and we haven't connected them yet?
Well, I'm not an engineer, but I'm sure there's a logical reason for it.
And if not, you'll talk to him and find out if we can connect them. Okay,
100%.
so we have it straight from Mr. Unmapped, basically, kind of like Mr. Worldwide. If they can connect these, they will. I want to reiterate for the 10,000th time, we are in the prototype phase currently. It has been my experience. If you watch this channel, you've seen where a bunch of the RVs that I've recorded early access in prototype mode like this. That seems to be how the engineers initially build things, and then somebody else has to go, guys, stop it. Connect the sewer outlet. So there is potential that those things get connected, but you'll want to double check that once these things actually start shipping to dealerships. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Let me know what you think about the new offering here. We will be carrying these at a couple of our stores. These are brand new. At the time I'm recording this, they haven't even gone into production. This is only the prototype era of this thing. Hasn't entered its Taylor Swift production era yet, basically. So when you check the link in the video description to jump to our website, we may not yet have listings there for pricing and availability. That will resolve over time. Our local folks can assist you if nothing populates in those search results anyway. So until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.